I'll just see if it's coming up here. This should be going live. It normally says this is
Should be
going live
being
now.
live streamed, yeah.
Yeah. Been a while since I've done one of these lives. I've done loads really. Here we go. Let's have a
Never
go.
done one, Joe. I'm
This
dead
should be going
excited.
live. Oh, haven't you? Oh, hang on. Let's have a go. This is going live now. Shut up, Joe. There you go. And then if I go like that, you've never done a live, haven't you got a YouTube channel with you being like dead famous and all that?
I have, but I haven't got a clue what I'm doing with it, so
Oh,
it's
that's all right.
there.
That's all right. Well, you have to learn, don't you? And I've
There's
got
no
good at this
shame.
because you have to get into a state of I don't care really because I'm not like planning anything. And let's see what we can chat about. Just bear with me while I go here and write a comment. So if I do one of them at things and then put Niki Niki Kinsella and then I go bink like that and then go like that. That now should be tagged on yours.
Yeah, I've just found you and shared this link to my page, so it'll be on
Okay.
there as well. So
Yeah, you're really an expert on these things. I think you just pretend. Nikki, my love, thank you so much. We've only met once in the flesh, haven't we? But
yeah,
we've known each other for a long, long time, haven't we?
lifetimes.
No, I'm absolutely certain of it. Eons of
Yeah.
connections in the past. I remember when you were my grandmother.
I
Right.
don't doubt it.
I know, who knows? Who knows about that? So we can talk about all that past life or dimensional stuff and all that, because that, as far as I'm concerned, spirituality to me is what goes on in the invisible dimensions, whatever that means. And right, I think I gave you a bit of a clue on where I'm coming from with regards to things. But first of all, about you, who are you and where do you come from? Number two.
Who are you? Um, so where do I come from? As in,
Yeah,
where do I live?
yeah. Because I mean, this is going out across the planet, this.
Oh, so I'm Nikki Kinsella. I am the feminine energy guide.
Oh.
Um, and I'm from Wallasey, down the road from you, Joe. So on the Wirral, over the water from Liverpool in England.
And is that a cultivated accent you've got there? Because, it's sounds a bit like private school. Is that
Yeah,
correct?
yeah.
Nikki, I take the piss out of people. You know that. Oh, come on.
I'm
You're
dead
easy
literal
bait
though,
so
Joe.
far.
I am. Honestly, I'm so literal. If you said to me the moon's made of cheese as well, I'd be like, is it? So yeah, it takes me a minute. So you'll have fun with me tonight.
So, from Wallasey, what part of Wallasey? Can't you remember?
Yeah, I didn't know if I give me road or like I'm
Oh
in
no, no, not your road. No,
Wallasey
just the bit.
Village.
Oh, Wallasey Village. So the high end of
Yeah,
Wallasey.
it's all right here. Yeah.
So I'm from the other side, as you know, from Seacombe, and that's why I talk like this, which is right opposite the road from Liverpool Pier Head, isn't it? So for people across the world, that's where the Beatles come from and all that. And Paul McCartney used to come over here, didn't he, to Egremont? I don't know whether you know this because you're a little younger than I, right? Although you look older, but um, right,
Not bad.
yeah. Paul McCartney, his cousins and his nephews and all that stuff used to live just around the corner from us. So and the Beatles played many times at the Tower Ballroom in
No
Liverpool.
way, did they?
Oh yeah, loads of times, yeah. And also at the Apollo Club in Morton. Do you remember the Apollo?
Sort of. I remember going on a school trip when I was little to where the Tower Ballroom was and finding a piece of the floor. Um, that it was like jade, I think. Um, and I kept it in my pencil case for ages.
Yeah. I do things like that. Pick up a bit of crystal and think that's special, that
Oh,
magic.
well, you want to see inside my tarot box? It's got like little pebbles and feathers and stones and sea glass and a plastic duck and everything from just everywhere that I've
So,
got.
so you a tarot reader then? You tarot cards?
I love tarot
Oh,
cards.
do you?
Yeah,
That's
so
interesting because my youngest daughter, Kate, she's just learning tarot now, along with she's becoming a Reiki master or a Reiki person. And
yeah.
because my kids, have started to sort of say to me, all that shit of stuff you've been going on about for years, Dad, right? We think it might be true. You know what I mean? And so they're almost like following in my footsteps. And I don't force them on anything. I just say this. And they ask me things now, what do you think's coming up now, Dad? And what do you think's happening in the world and all this, you know? My big philosophy is I think when we met, my background is I used to work as a biomedical scientist in Victoria Central Hospital, and then I went up to Arrow Park, and the stress and the pressure of things got to me, and I found that if I had a few drinks, I could like become almost like okay work wise. But as the years went on and the stress got more and more, I found
Mhm.
that I needed more and more drink to get to that neutral place, you know.
Yeah.
And then one day the alcohol didn't work, and I had to start taking all sorts of prescribed medications then, you know, like antidepressants and things.
Hmm.
And another day that they didn't work either, so I had to find absolutely anything at all that made me feel different, you know. And I got addicted to alcohol. I lost the job in the hospital, which I hated because I didn't hate the job. I hated losing it because I loved everything to do with health and medicine and all that sort of thing,
Yeah.
you know. But in those days, they didn't have any sort of compassion, if you like, for things because alcoholism was an addiction and that was the end of it. You know, you were a liability, out you go, you know. So consequently, then with no money, I got into even more trouble then and lost my wife and kids and blah de blah de blah. And at the end of it, I ended up homeless, you know, and I was that pissed off with myself uh, for being such a failure, really, that I made a couple of attempts to do myself in. I didn't know we were going to go here, but this is my story, you know what I
Where we're
mean?
going.
You know, and in the hopefully the final attempt, right, I was unsuccessful in that. So not only was I unsuccessful in living, I was unsuccessful in trying to kill myself as well, you know. So I sort of in the last attempt, it was very strange, but this sort of peace that passeth all understanding descended upon me. And temporarily, and it will say temporarily, it seemed like a long time, but it only must have been a few minutes or something. And in that sort of time, I understood everything, Nikki, you know, and I don't know whether this was called a near-death experience or an out-of-body experience and all that. I don't know, right? But I got the impression very strongly that something said to me, son, because they always call me son. I say they because I think I'm getting looked after by things, you know, and I don't try and find out what it is. I just get a feeling, you know, and I get a feeling now talking about it, going up my spine, you know. And they sort of said to me, son, first of all, you shouldn't have signed on the bottom line if you can't take a joke, right? And I thought, who's this thing here? I'm trying to tune myself in, right? And there's these things, or this thing is telling me, like, I shouldn't have signed the contract, you know. Anyway, cut a long story short, from that point on, they then said to me, or I got the impression, and I don't know, because I try and be honest about what happened, because I don't fully understand. In that moment of silence, I saw like an algebraic formula, and I was told, son, this is the formula for the creation of everything. And I didn't understand, Nicky, you know. So I come out and they said, we are going to show you now, if you pay attention, how a day at a time, we're going to show you the right actions to take to start to get healthy again, you know, and then you just show other people, you know. And what I've realized is the joy of living is my theme. I live scrupulously one day at a time. I'm not bothered about what's gone on in the past anymore. You know, I've sort of, in
Yeah.
fact, I hardly ever think about the past, Nicky, right? And I hardly ever bothered about the future because I know that I'm being looked after one day at a time, you know.
Yeah.
And I try and I say to people, I'm not laughing at you. No, no, I'm not laughing with you. I'm laughing at you. And they say, have you got that wrong? I say, no, no. My job's to take the piss, right, and try and bring a little chuckle to people's lives, you know. Because I think in the moment of the chuckle, sometimes their heart opens and inspiration comes in. That's the way I look at things, you know.
Yeah.
And I know you do. After our talk when we met a couple of weeks ago, I know that you share similar feelings about things, you know.
Yeah.
So that's what I've done, you know, and that was how many years ago? That was coming up in 2 weeks' time. It'll be 34 years since I've had a drink of alcohol or any other mind altering substance. And I'm not opposed to medication because I work in medicine, right? I'm not opposed to medicine as long as it's given for the right condition in the right amount, for the right, for good purpose, if you like.
Absolutely.
So
Yeah.
I don't fight with anything, Nikki, because I think anything can work if the motivation's correct. Anyway, all about me. Over to you.
I don't even know where to start. Yeah, so similar to you, my coping mechanisms were alcohol and self-medication for a really long time because I'd just watched my whole family sort of do the same thing with alcohol, come from a line of drinkers, and I started drinking when I was about 13 and nobody really said anything and it was all right. And then um didn't yeah, married my own narcissist when I was 19 or 21, I think I was. I was in with him for 5 years and my coping mechanisms just shifted massively then because I was looking forward to every weekend so that I could sort of numb out the rest of my life for the rest of the week. But what goes up must come down, mustn't it? So it only I got so far in, a couple of years in of, clubbing and having the best time, but the worst time at the same time. And then was like had to go on antidepressants because I literally I couldn't smile. I'd lost all my joy. I'm like, me, I'm naturally sort of giddy and happy, and it was all gone. And my mum had noticed at the time and she tried to intervene, but I was with a narcissist, so he hated my mum and I didn't have any of my friends and I didn't see it. I didn't see any of it until I was out the other side. And then I had all these people pleaser tendencies and I just did anything anybody else wanted. I didn't know myself at all. And it was that one of the hardest things I think is when you come out of something like that and people go, well, what do you like? And you go, well, what do you like? And then no, no, what do you want to do? And I'm like, I don't even know what my favorite color is. And I had to really find myself again. Um, and I've been with Mikey now for like 20 years. And we had a bit of a bumpy start, but he's like my absolute rock now. But it took me until I had my second child. So looking at Daisy when she was born, so 12 years ago, and I was like, oh my God, like she's a little girl. I don't want her to have the same life that I had. So I was brought up in a narcissistic house. My nan was a bully. Looking back now, she had a really traumatic childhood and some horrible things happened to her. And I think she had a horrible menopause. So, when you can sort of understand there was no support for her and she just took it out on everybody closest to her. So she's come through and we've had a conversation and things like that. And she said sorry. But I was bullied in primary school and then married my own narcissist. So I'd always been like walking on eggshells. So to see this little tiny human and just go, oh my God, it's a girl. Like I can't have her doing the same thing. Um, that made me want to change, really want to change. And then fast forward 4 years, I'd lost my dad and my mum. Both my biological parents passed away in really horrible endings as well. Some people like it's always horrible, isn't it? But you know what I mean? Like my dad had an autoimmune disease and it took him 9 months to deteriorate to the point of just turning off the machine. And then my mum had lung cancer, so we watched her slowly change and we lost her before we lost her. Um, hang on. It's Mother's Day on Sunday, and it just this week always just gets me. And I've just watched American Idol and cried for a whole hour, so that's my guilty pleasure. So my heart's wide open. Um, but yeah, that really made me realize that every day is a gift and you just do not know what tomorrow is going to be. And I try to say to the kids, don't, you know, do everything that you want to do. Like, don't run through life, but certainly, you know, live every day as if it's the best day ever. Like look at the sunset, look at the flowers. I've got a massive lily in the kitchen at the moment that looks like it's going to try and eat me, but it makes me dead happy looking at it. And it's just all those little glimmers. And that really shifted my perspective. I was like, my cup was, it wasn't just half empty. It was like it had holes in the bottom and I was neggy and everything was just shit and bad and I was gossipy and I was all like, I was in the dark side because that's all I'd ever really known. And then practicing gratitude. I found Reiki at the school gates, one of my old friends. Went and did my Reiki level 1, thought it was the fucking weirdest thing I'd ever done in my whole life, but understanding the chakras and how my body was trying to speak to me, but I didn't know how to listen. That changed my life. And I was like, oh my God, I need to share this with more people. So I trained to be a Reiki master. She started sharing that. Yoga changed my life. Yoga got me sober because I was able to put my classes on a Friday night, Saturday morning, and a Sunday morning. So it didn't have to. And it's funny, isn't it? And you'll get this, Joe, when you try and change, the people around you see their arse. And they're like, what's the matter with you? Why don't you want a drink? And you're like, well, I just don't want one. Well, who do you think you are? And you're like, so it really helped me to be able to put work in the way. And then meditation changed I couldn't live without meditation today. It's my absolute, I do it about 5 times a day, just little minutes here and there, big one in the morning, little minutes. And I always say to the kids, I meditate for your safety because I was so reactive. I didn't have a filter. It'd think here and come out my gob. It'd
Yeah.
slip out, and then I go, I didn't mean that. And you can't take your words back, can you? So that it really, really helped me to just think for a second. Do you want to say this? Is it gonna cause World War III? Shut up, then. Just and then I'll process it another way. Um, or sometimes I'll say it. It depends. I'm human, so sometimes I'm like, you're fucking having this. Um, So yeah, and then I left my job in the bank, started my own spiritual business, and then I've just made it my mission to sort of help people, um, take as many people with me as I can. I got sucked into the online space for a little bit. I mean, I am on there, but to all the shiny and the worked with different coaches who said they were one thing and we're all fair coat and no knickers, and you learn your lessons, don't you? And it shows you as well who you don't want to be. But just recently, and this is the conversation we had the other week, wasn't it? I've started my shamanic journey, and I just know I've done this in other lives, and this is my path. And I can just every time I talk about it, my heart just grows in my body. So that's my little journey so far.
Fucking hell, I'll have to get in quick here, otherwise I'll
And
get over the no. Yeah, it's my first degree was biomedical sciences, as I said, and I was sort of in charge of a hematology department, and I was very
wow,
into all that. But I needed the drink to stabilize me, to make the money to pay the rent, to this, that, and the other, you know. But I see now that it's almost like I signed a soul contract now before I actually came to
I
Earth,
believe that.
you know,
Yeah.
and that's the way I explain it. And I'm happy with that. And I don't try and push that onto anybody else, but I think that's intricately related to the purpose that I was born, really. But I
Mhm.
think before you come here, part of the curriculum, you actually develop a whole load of experiences, right,
Mhm.
in your ego mind that
Yeah.
you've got to get through. So they're almost like the heroes or the heroine's journey that you set up yourself. It's a bit like being on the holodeck of, the Starship Enterprise or whatever it is, and you print, and they're all saying to you, what do you want to do next? This is where you're up to now on your soul's journey, which will go on forever. And you've got to this bit now. You've just got your degree in that bit there. What do you want to do? Well, I want to do a master's degree now. You know what I mean? And they
Oh,
say,
I love
well, here's a few like adventures you can go on. Pick one. And I go, that alcoholic one looks interesting. And they go, ooh, ooh, that's a pretty tough one, that, right? And, in my soul's egomania, because I think that you still retain a bit of egomania, even in the souls department, it was like, nah,
I
that'll
can
be
do
all
that.
right. I can do that, right?
Like an
Sorted,
ADHD soul.
yeah. Soul pride, fuck, I can do that piece of piss. And then they say to you, when we press this button, you'll forget this completely,
Yeah.
right? And and they press the button and you come out, wah, and out you get popped, right?
Yeah.
And off it goes, But I do think, even from a very early age at St. Joey's and stuff, I was having glimpses of other things, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because I think people have various stages. Some people are born as what they used to call sensitives. And there's no doubt about it that I was definitely born sensitive,
Yeah.
I was almost like transplanted onto my mum's leg because I was 6 weeks.
Oh,
Yeah, I was 6 weeks premature, right? And I was the second child, but we lost our brother Terence before I was born. He lasted for 2 days, And I
Oh,
think Terence, my brother, I think that he looks after me in some sort of a way. And I was brought up in a very highly Roman Catholic family. And at 11, I was sent away to train to start my priesthood, because in those days, the eldest boy was sent away generally. Or that, let me get that wrong. I wasn't really sent away, but I tuned into the expectations of the culture. And because I was a gross people pleaser and wanted to please everybody, I said to me mum, I want to be a priest. And then I think that the parish priest heard that, and then my name went down in the little black book, you know what I mean? So at 11 years of age, I'm being transported 200 miles away from my mum and my dad, right, to Ushaw College in Durham. A beautiful, beautiful place, honest to Christ. And the education was fun. We had to start learning Latin at 11 years of age and all this stuff. Anyway, cut a long story short, things were happening at that place when I was young, and I didn't fully understand. I'm not going to go into all the details. But after about 14 months, right, my mother said to me, Dad, get him out of there, Jim. That's me, my dad's name. Right, he's not happy, and this, that, and the other, and he's frightened all the time. So out of the frying pan into the fire, I went straight into St. Anselm's then, the Christian Brothers College.
yep.
Nikki, I was terrified. Because I know now, and this is my big thing about my occupation now, fear blocks creativity,
Oh, yeah.
right? And I was afraid all the time, but I was ducking and diving, and I could listen to something and remember it and regurgitate it. And that's how I got out of trouble all the time. But I was almost like a programmed and preconditioned automaton, really. You know what I mean? And I didn't really develop any of my own nature. I just developed everybody else's sort of like socially engineered thing. And I know that you know what I'm talking about. But when I drank, right, it released me. All this compressed, repressed ducking and diving temporarily went whoosh.
Yeah.
And that was the feeling that I got. It was the feeling of freedom. But as we know, it was an artificial way to get free. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I didn't know that at the time. I look back and I can't identify with that person now. However, I understood why he did it now. And you mentioned something before about coping strategies and coping mechanisms. I can see that all those things I developed, even from a very, very early age and before the age of 7, right, they were sort of still with me at 38 years of age. And I
Yeah.
know now that where we are with life now and the way that the world's going is there's almost a purposeful disintegration of everything so that people start reflecting on how come this is not working for me anymore. And it's almost like we're all being placed at, some people call it the truth vibration, which I believe. We're almost being faced now, or to turn around and face ourselves now and seeing what things
Yeah.
aren't aligned with our soul's purpose,
Yeah.
you
So,
know.
so much agree with that. And I've had a bit of not an awakening, I want to say like a realignment, but like this heart connection, this all about love coming from a place of love connected to my heart. And you know how your brain works. Everything I'm seeing now is to do with love. And I picked a card today and it was all about love and all that. But I've had a few of my friends who are really spiritual who've said they feel like God has spoken to them and said like this is the path, and they're completely, they've got rid of their altar, they're not doing anything like that, and they're talking, God is coming through them. And it's like this, she sent something to me this morning because I'm really intrigued by it all with what's happening with me. um and there's like a passage and it says something about God calling all his people back to faith at the right time. So it's like all these people are waking up in whatever way feels true to them and connecting back to their hearts. Oh, just it just feels so amazing.
But I mean, they call me the heart doctor, the light heart, Dr. Lightheart, they call me, even though I look miserable. They call me Dr. Lightheart. Well, I've found my way into yoga stuff now for many years. And the philosophy of yoga sorts it for me, really, because yoga is not just about the asanas and all that. It's about union, and it's about the union of every single cell in the body. So
Yeah,
what I've done is, I don't particularly talk about God, but I talk about the power of good. God
yeah,
and good are the same
yeah,
thing
yeah,
for me. It's not a
exactly.
person or anything like that. I'm certainly not religious in that sense. I don't
No, me
follow any
neither.
religion.
No.
But I think religiousness is a feeling. It's just that feeling you get up,
Yeah,
and it's not about thinking yourself into a gratitude situation. I think you've got to get out of the way and something starts to emerge then you feel grateful, you know.
Yeah.
And as I mentioned to you, I know that you've written a bestseller. I'm writing a book. It's taken me years to do. It'll come when it's ready. And it's called the F off approach to health and happiness.
That sounds amazing. I'll
Yeah.
read that.
Well, F off stands for focus on feelings first.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah, well, I got that. I got given that. That was an inspiration, you know. And it was like ER, F off. See what it stands for. And I thought that's absolutely bloody brilliant. That you know. And
That's
I
a,
was also given other years ago is the I am approach to health and well-being. Now the I am. Oh, there you go. Oh, there you go. So I am to me means innate or internal asset, their strengths, right? And mapping. And basically, what that is do you know who you are? And do you know what your strengths are? It's an asset-based or a strength-based approach.
oh,
Because,
wow.
yeah, no, well, this is the, you know, when you get stuff coming through and you
Yeah,
just
yeah,
can't stop it and you write it down. So I said, well, what does this mean? And I go, Joe, what is the I am? And I said, I've heard of that. Well, that's the essential self. That's source self itself. And that's
yeah,
sometimes called the I am presence. And I said, okay, but your I am will be helping people to rediscover what they're naturally good at and to help them to work with that because that's
yeah,
the only way that they will find the enthusiasm, and that's entheos, which means to either walk with God or to be enthusiastic in spirit, right? That's what that means, you know. And you'll help them to understand that unless they're actually working and flowing with that energy, they'll never find true peace of mind. So if they're in a job that they hate, right, they need to sort of take a step back. I know, and everybody needs money, we understand that, but it's almost to sort of ask intuition for guidance is either help me to see something in this job that I can really get good at, or I can start to make me way out and look for other occupations. You see what I mean? And I
yeah,
think
yeah,
loads of people, Nikki, I work with loads and loads of doctors, right, who are trying like mad to get out of the NHS
yeah.
because the pressure of work and the pressure of everything else, it's killing them, you know. And
I know.
so, just to sort of finish this little bit off, I try and bring spirituality under the cover of the words that they use. So I'll talk about cardiac coherence. And that just means an open and flowing heart. Because if I'm talking to medical communities, generally speaking, if I say any of that woo-woo stuff, their minds close down. So,
Absolutely.
so I have to be aware of the audience that I'm, if you like, delivering
Yeah,
to, and try and use the words, you know. And lots of them now, mindfulness up to a few years ago was considered woo-woo, but now it's not. There are literally thousands of studies now to show the psychological benefits of creating more space before you open your gob, you know. And my thing is, I can show people how to work their heart differently through breathing, like through pranayama techniques and stuff like that. And it creates more space for the light to get in. And that's basically what I'm doing. But depending on the audience, I mean, if it was people in yoga, they
yeah,
understand all this, you know, so that's fine. Because they call me Dr. Anahata, you know, the heart chakra, you
yeah.
know. So that's where I'm up to. And people think, you know, oh, you know loads of things. I don't really, you know, I'm sort of blagging it most of the time. No, seriously. I mean,
Intuitive though, isn't it? Because you
well, I
just know
think,
what you know.
yeah, it just like comes at the right time if I get my head out of the way. Because I call this the headator. And it's never got any bloody good ideas. The ideas come up from there and out of me gob before it gets in there. And
Yeah.
that seems to be more successful, you know, in a way, you know. So, what do we mean by spirituality, or what do you mean?
To me, it's who you are at a soul level. So everyone's spirituality is going to be different to them. So finding their self, their soul, moving all the shit out the way and maybe unlabeling themselves or untangling some of the things that they've had attached to them along the way that aren't actually theirs. Like I didn't know what I believed. And it's that, and it's just taking the time to do the shadow work if you want to. That's what really set me free was looking at all the shame and the guilt and everything like that. Because it's like self-acceptance, isn't it? And like what you've said, you can't change it. So what's the point in going back and hating yourself or shaming yourself because you did the best you could at the time with what you knew? Otherwise, you'd have done something different, probably, unless it felt good. And then there's still no shame. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
But what I'm saying is, we can't look back. We've got to forgive and accept and heal and the inner child stuff and all of that to bring ourselves to here, to go to there. But the the a lot of the things that when I looked at was like why I didn't feel good enough and why I thought it was this and why that and like my money mindset was one of the things that was absolutely fucked and that was because my nan was like money's the root of all evil. People who drive Porsches have got little willies and all just like
yeah,
when
yeah, yeah.
I'm like, ew, little Willie,
I
and
haven't got a Porsche, by the way. Actually got a Mini, but there, that's little.
don't go there, Joe.
Okay.
But yeah, it's those things because we just hear it, don't we? And we repeat it. And then you go, why'd you say that? And you're like, I don't even know why I'm saying the things I'm saying because they're all tangled up. Um, so untangling all of that, doing a shitload of shadow work. And we're never done, are we? There's always stuff, there's always layers as we evolve. Um, but yeah, so I really feel like I know who I am now. I like who I am now. And yeah, I love who I am because I think you've got to love yourself first. You've got to show people, what you're willing to accept and what's not okay for you, and that's okay as well. And you'll know this with being a people pleaser as well. I didn't have no in my vocabulary until I was about 39. I'm 46 now, but I could never say no. And in
Yeah,
my book, there's a, a fucking what's it called? Chapter called "No is a complete sentence."
yeah.
'Cause I used to over explain myself all the time, and I still do sometimes, but I catch myself and I'm like, no, actually, I don't, you don't need to know everything. And
Yeah.
it's being okay with that as well.
I agree. I think the whole thing about it is, for me, if I'm feeling emotionally disturbed, that's the ego in me.
Yeah,
It can't be the divine part of me because that's all powerful. So any emotional disturbance, I'm not saying not to have emotions because there'll be natural emotions. Like you think when you thought about your mum before and this, that, and the other. That's a natural emotion,
yeah,
right? It's the threatened emotional reaction that's the problem.
yeah,
And I sort of help people in this because I've been helped through it myself is there's only one time we should be emotionally reactive, and that's when our physical self is being threatened.
yeah,
That's the only time, because other than that, there's always time to rethink about things,
yeah,
right? And that's a big thing for me. And I watch now. I've almost like got a monitor just on me heart and me tummy. That's where I get all the feelings from, my
yeah.
solar plexus, really. And if I feel that, and there's physiology behind this, because when you feel threatened, you go into fight and flight. And there's like what they call a shunting mechanism where the blood goes from your visceral organs, your digestive organs, and it goes into your muscles
So
in
you can
case you
like it.
need to run, in case you need to leg it, yeah, or fight and stand up for yourself. See what I mean?
Yeah,
So the first thing that comes in is a perception of threat. And then immediately in quantum terms, immediately the body will go into fight and flight.
yeah,
That's based on the conditions that we got brought up in the first 7 years of our life, and they were there. We had to develop them to protect us. But as adults, and that's the hard part, we don't need to be asked about most things anymore. It's
no,
like I'm
it's
not
true.
bothered about that. And people used to say to me, can I suggest that you come here? And I'll say, no, I don't fancy that. Why not? Because I don't feel like it. I don't have
Because
to
they want
explain
to,
myself.
yeah.
And don't get me wrong, if they push it, I have that Tai Chi move. I've told you once, right? And if they push it again, oh, I think that you really should, I'll say, I've told you twice. Right. And on the third one, you have to punch them with love. There's the message. I don't want to go.
Yeah,
So I'm not a pushover anymore, but I used to be because I would do any favor for anybody, no matter what they asked me, right? Even if it jeopardized me, my safety and all that. Because what will they think of me
yes,
if I don't say yes, and and it happened in school as well. And I used to sidle up to like the bullies in the school because if it was like a gopher for them, even though I was quite a big lad and all that, in the insides I didn't feel like that.
yeah,
So what I'd do is I'd sidle up to them and I'd like do messages for the bullies in the school so they would look after me. Do you see what I mean?
Yeah.
And when you look at these things, you can get sad about it, thinking about it, but there's a reason for everything, you know. And when I was on the drink, I was the narcissist in drink. I was, you know, because all the stuff that I pushed down because of my sensitivity, it all came out in the drink. Do you see what I mean? So it gave me power. So I understand about repressed stuff and about how the narcissist outside of us is a representative of the one that's inside of us, you know. And when you start to see that balance,
Yeah.
everything starts to make sense now. And some people, when you approach them, they either laugh, right, nervously when you say things like that, or they get angry. I'm not fucking having that. You know what I mean? But as you get a little bit further along, you begin to see that what you actually project out, right, comes back to you in the form of a person, a place, a thing, an event or
Yeah,
situation. Once
absolutely.
you get to that stage, you're up and running then really if you can accept it, you know.
Yeah.
And I got a bit deep there really, but if you're on that one, because I think some people are sort of destined to lead a bit, right? Because they go through it earlier than most people now. But
Yeah.
I see my job now as I'm a very sort of when the phone goes, I think fuck off and leave me alone. I don't want to help anybody, you know. It's like who's that now, you know? And I'm just being honest about it. But if someone rings up and I say, of course, immediately, if I can help, I'd be there helping them, you know.
Yeah.
I'm not quite sure what I've just said there, but it's deep stuff, this. But in the end, if you point the finger out, there's always three fingers coming back at you. And I honestly believe that the soul projects out, it will actually bring in, attract to it the next phase of its journey one day at a time. So it almost like sets the scene, sets the players, sets the events that come up just to see how you get on, working in alignment with your soul and not fearfully. Do you see what I mean?
Yeah.
Quick,
My
over
mum
to
used
you.
to
Got a
say,
bit serious there.
no, my mum used to say, there's two things my mum used to say all the time is what would love do? If I wanted to know the answer to something, I'd ask her a question and she'd go, well, what would love do? And I'd be like, what do you fucking mean? What would love do? Just tell me what to do. You know? And she was so right. She was so wise. And one day at a time, she'd be like, slow down. Like I was always going a million miles an hour. And I know why now, because of all my nervous energy and stuff like that. And I got ADHD, whatever you want to make of that. But um yeah, I couldn't sit still and I was just always all over the place. And whereas now I'm just like, I want to be in the moment. I want to feel the cuddles that I get from my kids and watch the sunset and it's all those things. So on Monday, I went for a walk with my friend and we always put the world to rights and talk about flat earth and all stuff like that. And I just love it. Um, so she said the other day she was driving, she drives to Scotland. She said, I was looking in the sky, right? She said, and the moon was there and it was all big and bright. She goes, but there was nothing on it. She goes, and I thought, oh, wait, they forgot to put the cover on the moon. It's like the Truman Show. It was the fucking sun. She was
Ah!
driving in the daylight, looking through the clouds. Oh, I was howling. But after she told me that, we walked past all the benches, on New Brighton Promenade, and they've all got little names on, haven't they? And we
Yeah,
always
yeah,
find new ones that we've not seen. And someone had left little pebbles on the bench, like a kid had painted them, and one had hearts all over it. And she said, "I think you should take one of them." And I was like, "Oh, so pick the heart one up." And I turned it over, and it said, "First, love yourself."
yeah, yeah,
Oh, and it's on me desk. It's on the kitchen table downstairs, which is my desk.
yeah,
But
yeah.
it
Of course.
makes me so happy, just looking at it and like little pictures that the kids draw me or they'll write on the corner of my book, I love you, and I'll tear it off and I'll put it in me. But and it's those because our ultimate purpose in life is to be happy. But we're told by society that we've got to have these big houses and big cars and all of that. But they know that happiness comes from inside of us and they don't want us to have that. They want us to spend all of our money on all this shit. But actually, what's more beautiful than just taking a breath and watching a little squirrel ferret around underneath the trees? And, I was in Vale Park the other day and there was a squirrel amongst a blanket of purple and white crocuses on the grass. Oh, and it was so early in the morning, there was like a little bit of mist, and my heart nearly popped out my chest. I was so happy. And it's those little things.
I'm exactly the same. Very, very. It used to be called sentimentality, but
Mm.
I've always been a romantic from a very early age. Very romantic, very
Oh,
sentimental and stuff. But it's those small things that cost nothing. Just to look in somebody's eyes. If I see someone smiling, it makes me feel good. You know what I
yeah.
mean? And if you can enhance somebody's life by making it easier for them to
Oh, yeah.
smile, then isn't that what it's about? I don't mean like being a saint, you know,
No,
but
but millions, like it costs nothing to be kind, does it?
no, no. I find it difficult because my mum used to say, like, if you can't say a kind word, don't say anything. I find that hard, because I mean, when I'm on one and I'm tired, I can feel him coming back in. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know, the
We're
take the piss
human though.
becomes a the take the piss becomes a barb then, and I can feel it. And I know now that if I fire anything at anybody else, right, I have to apologize. It
Mm.
doesn't matter what they're doing actually, unless it's a physical thing. But on I don't have to like I have to go along and clean my side of the street. One thing I've learned in Alcoholics Anonymous is I follow the program of recovery of AA to the letter every single day because Nikki, I don't want to drink again. And I know it was the only thing that stopped me drinking,
Yeah.
but it's strict. It's a discipline, and that's all there is to it is have you done this today? So I look out for have I got self-pity? Right. Have I got resentment, jealousy, envy? Am I gossiping about anybody else in order to put them down? I have to look at all those negative emotional states because my ego's threatened at some
Yeah.
part. And most of the time I say it's not because I'm not consciously aware of it. But it's going on. There's four-fifths of all this processing going on below the level of my consciousness. And when I suggest to people this is what I've found out about myself, they say, "Well, I'm not like that." And I think, I've just said to you, like, it's below the level. That means we're not aware of it. And I almost like feel now that the purpose of this journey that we set ourselves is to free us from that bondage of self. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And sometimes it's difficult when you've got to go back and say to somebody that you've hurt in the past, you have to face them directly if possible. And you have to say, look, I'm sorry that I hurt you. And if there's anything I can do to put this right. And most people said to me, they said, Joe, you were such a lovely fella, but when you got drink down here, you were a pain in the arse,
Yeah.
right? You were completely and utterly horrible. But we wish you well. Most people said that to me. Some people said to me, fuck off. I never want to see your face again. Right. And Nikki, there's a lot of stuff that I did in drink and in blackouts. And to this day, I
Yeah.
cannot remember. And people have said to me, you did this, don't you remember? And I honestly, hand on heart, I say, I'm so sorry. I don't remember a single thing about it.
Yeah.
But I apologize. And they said, well, we're glad to see that you're getting better. Good luck with the rest of your life.
Yeah.
And if there's something that comes up from my past that I don't remember, I've been forgiven for that. As long, it's a bit like if you steal some money from somebody, right? And when you go through this process, my sponsor said to me, right, you've been along, you've said sorry. And he said, now how are you going to pay the money back? Because I thought, oh no, I've done that. But I had to go and pay the money back, you see. Do you see what I mean? I had to find some way to pay the money back until I felt in my heart because I thought I was going to be let off with like doing all these things, but
Yeah.
it's not true. You have to rebalance the karma by taking actions, right?
Yeah.
And most of the actions, the little child in me, he doesn't want to know. It's like people who have hurt us. There's some philosophies that believe, well, you set this up for yourself in the beginning. Because if you hadn't have gone, and these are controversial things, but if you hadn't have gone through that situation, you wouldn't be the person that you are now.
I wouldn't change anything.
No.
All the shit, all the pain, all like I'd love to give my mum one more cuddle, but I know she had to go for me to do this because if she was still here, I wouldn't have made the changes that I've made in my life because it had to be that she had to be my catalyst.
Yeah.
Um, and just what you were saying there, I've just started on my shamanic path, and one of the things that we had to do was the soul retrieval, but part of it was where have we had parts of our soul taken and where have we taken parts of other people's souls, so what
Yeah.
have we done, and then we had to give it back. But obviously we couldn't give it back to the person face to face. So there was a like a ceremony that we did, and that was fucking ruthless. Like cracked wide open, like the yew tree in the field had snot all down it because I was hugging it, sobbing all over it. I had green all in my mouth when I come back. So I was like, ah, up the tree. But it let me. I asked. Um, but it's that, isn't it? But once it's out, and there's that cheesy saying, you've got to feel it to heal it. But
Oh
you
yeah,
really have, because the shit we've pushed down, we haven't felt,
yeah.
or we've blocked out, or we've whatever, forgot about it. And the stuff that I was shown when I was journeying, I'd forgot. And I was like, oh my God, I did that. Oh my God, I did that. Oh my. And then it's all there then in front of you going, well, what the fuck are you going to do with it now? And there's only one thing you can do. It's just accept that it happened, forgive yourself, and send it back with love. Give it all back. And that, like, I feel like a completely, and I'm only at the beginning, like, we've only done 1 week, we've got a whole year of it, but um, the difference in just the perception around the heart and the purity of giving and love and just everything. Like I had such a, I came back and I think I'd seen you the first week I was back, and I was just like, I don't, all my squirrels have fucked off. I don't know where they've gone. I can't think properly. I was just in this like calm state of recalibration, sort of, everything was integrating, and then it's all sort of settled down a little bit now, but it's so massive.
It sounds fantastic, that thing that you're doing. I know lots of people in the yoga community, and we talk about feminine empowerment, and I think that's different than female empowerment,
Yeah.
because I think people get mixed up between male, female, feminine, and masculine, you know, because I know I call myself gay from the waist up, and that means bottom down, that works like a fella, and from the top, it's much more sensitive. But
Yeah.
that's not male and female, that's masculine and feminine.
Feminine,
And then I
absolutely.
try and say to them, but within your body, you've got hormones. Some are feminine hormones. So,
Yeah,
so all men have testosterone and estrogen, and all women have estrogen and testosterone. So
yeah,
that's all part of the, from a yoga point of view, Ida and Pingala, or in Taoism, what do they call it, yin and yang and
yeah,
stuff
yeah,
like that. And there's masculine and feminine. And I think they have to come out of that imbalance of male and female, masculine and feminine. It's the heart that brings those two back into harmony. And it's when you start working from the heart, it's almost like a magnetic energy draws these two down so they can actually get back together and start to be and coordinate in the sanctuary of the golden child. I think that so
absolutely.
it's see here it comes now. The golden child brings it together. So in a way, the child brings mum and dad back together again and stuff like that.
It's the
There's
bridge.
all sorts of symbols involved in that. But in the end, Nikki, what I've realized is, and for anybody listening, if they're interested in, there's one technique that will help you if you become sensitive to it, and it's this: just become aware of your breathing. That's it.
Power. Yeah,
End of story. Because in stress, even though you don't even know what's causing it, we restrain our breathing. It becomes
yeah,
shallow. Sometimes it can become rapid. Know when you've gone into that, and
yeah,
then do the slow, deep breathing at about 6 breaths per minute. Right? That then brings you back to that space of neutrality, and then rethink. Take no actions until you've got back to that calm place, and then rethink. But our head's so powerful that when it gets hurt, it goes straight up there. It bypasses the heart, which is the
yeah,
moderator general, or I call it the CIA, the Central Intelligence Agency, right? The true one. And, it goes into instinct then, and I've got to defend myself. And that's
yeah.
really hard because that stops you forgiving yourself and forgiving other people from the situation that you've put yourself in. It's really hard stuff, this. And some people might be crawling up their own bottoms listening to this. But but I don't think anyone's going to get away with it really, you know.
So I called my business the Feminine Energy Guide because I didn't have any. And I wanted to help, like, I work predominantly with women to reconnect back to that, because we've lived in a masculine world for so long, and it's getting so much better now, isn't it? But everyone has got feminine and masculine energy. but we just need to become aware of what we're in and when we're in it. And but what you just saying there about the breath, I did a little live from my bed yesterday. I looked like a spring onion when I woke up, and I was like that in my bed. Do you know what? Because there's such a collective energy at the moment with all the shit going on in the world. I think sometimes we're feeling a little bit hairy, but it's not us. It's not ours. It's just everyone shitting themselves about everything. So it's like, listen, all you need to do is just take a few slow breaths. And I had it explained to me once that the thinking part of our brain, like when we take a big breath, and you'll know this, we've got little hairs or little sensors in the bottom of our lungs, and when they get tickled, it sends a message to the brain that says, fucking hell, she's taking a big breath, she must be calm. And we start pinging off all the happy hormones. But when we go into stress, I imagine in our brains, all our little thinking parts are like in white coats and like doop, 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 doop on the computer. And then the dogs are in the garden looking out for danger. And then as soon as the dog barks, the people in the white coat pull the ladder up and they're shut out. And all there is the dogs, isn't it? It's
Yeah,
like the amygdala going,
yeah,
"Bah, bah, bah." And then when the dogs shut up, they drop the ladder and you can think again, but you can't think while there's danger. It's like when someone goes, "What's the matter?" When you're sobbing your heart out and you actually can't speak because your mouth won't work because the thinking people have fucked off into their little,
yeah, yeah,
into the, what's it called? The panic room.
yeah.
Just hold the lid up.
Yeah. The war room, yeah,
That's
yeah.
it.
But they have a technical name for that, don't they? The amygdala hijack, they call it, and all this sort of thing. And
Really?
yeah, yeah, and they call it. It's when the monkey brain kicks off, and it's looking
Yeah.
for ways out and all that sort of thing. So I think that's where a lot of people are, and there's nefarious organisations that are trying to drive us more and more into our audio visual side of things. So that's what we've got: cheap films on Netflix, Prime Video. Nothing wrong with going into that for a bit of a relaxation, but when you get addicted to that all the time and you're coming out of the real world of the body, that becomes a real problem then.
Yeah.
So my big thing is to try and help people back to tactileness. It's back to touch, back to hugging, back to in a correct way. But
Yeah.
there's so much stuff goes along with that now. It's bollocks. So you've got to work with people, right, who are basically on the same pathway as you, and they're willing to, But I'm like you, Nikki. I work with energies, me, and I don't try and work it out with my head. I send
But
like a sonar out, and I get no, no, she's all right, he's all right. I can work with them.
yeah,
Oh, hang on.
absolutely.
I don't know what's going on. Something going on behind me. Doesn't matter.
Oh,
So let's see how we getting on for time. So we've got about 5 minutes left. Is that okay? Or we can go on
yeah.
longer if you want. But
No, no, 5 minutes is good for me.
okay. So tell us about this shamanic journey and about any of the ancient stuff that comes to you in your meditations.
Oh my God. So part of the shamanic path, or well, it's the path of the heart warrior, isn't it? It's the course that I'm on is called the hollow bone, which is basically hollowing me out, removing the ego, so I'm just here for spirit to sort of come through me. um and the week that we did like the retreat, I suppose it was a retreat, but it's the first week of training. I've never been drummed over so much in my whole life, and like the whole journey and thing. Like I've done a little bit of drumming when I've done me shamanic 13th rites of the womb ceremony, but I've never fucking drummed like this. And oh my God, it's so primal. Like this all sorts happened. But my spirit guides came through in different ways. The first that came through was the white stag, which I don't know anything about shamanic.
Nikki, just bear with me 1 second while I just ask me missus to turn the stuff down. Hang on a second.
Okay. I feel like I should sing a song or tell a little joke.
Love, do us a favour, turn that down for me if you want, please. That's all right. No problems.
Oh, he's so polite, isn't he?
She forgot.
I was expecting you to shout, "Shut the fuck up."
Yeah. I would have it with somebody else, but I know that you don't like that sort of thing. No, 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 no. No, no, she forgot to. Yeah, so the White Stag and
So I'll
Hollow
tell you,
Bone.
actually, I'll rewind a little bit. So last year, I really had always wanted to do a Kundalini activation because I'd seen it on um, like Instagram and all these people doing all this gyrating on the floor and all this with the bodies. And I thought, what a load of shit. Like, and I get it. So I thought I'll go and see for myself because everyone's different and everyone reacts differently. And I thought that won't be me. It fucking was me. I was screaming and everything. Felt I was like, okay. But part of my vision during the Kundalini activation was this tiny little Native American grandmother. And she was like, this is your path. You need to find a shaman. And then in my head, the whole floor turned into the earth and it was grass. And the earth wanted my heart. So I rolled over onto my belly and I was heart to heart with the earth. And I was literally laying and there was this gorgeous song on, Find Your Center. Have you heard it? I'll send it you. Oh, my love is just a reminder, find your center. It's like the chorus of it and it's beautiful. So came out of that and the woman who was doing the class and I was like, oh my God, I need to learn how to do this or whatever. And she was like, oh, well, it's very expensive and this, that, and the other. And I thought, you're not my teacher. Off I went, found the right person for me. She's feral, she's Scottish, she says minge, she's just perfect. She lives her work. I love her. Rhonda Spencer, name is if anyone wants to look her up. She is magic. She empowers women. She shares everything. Do you know what I mean? She's a
Yeah,
really
yeah,
in her heart, obviously, because of the work she does. So I found her, and on the first night we did our initiation ceremony. So we all went into this room and we had our eye masks on, and it was dark, and she was doing the journeying for us. And the guide that came forward for me was a Native American Indian with this blue headband on. And I'd seen him before in other meditations I'd done. And I felt his love. And it was like I was his or he was, we had the same heart. It was just, I was sobbing. I had no mascara on inside this eye mask. It was all everywhere. So then the next thing, he took his headdress off because he had to give me a gift. And it turned into this like stag because the stag had already been. I won't go into it all. But so he gave me this headdress that was like white buffalo skin or whatever, or fluffy stuff with this stag. So I had this on. And then the fucking grandmother pops up, like, I fucking knew you'd be here. And I was like, it's fucking you. So she's one of my guides with this other guy. I've got a fox, I've got a spider, and apparently the spider is the weaver, and the spider is all to do with shadow work and death. And I'm obsessed with I would love to be a death doula one day because I think the transition from life to death is something that I want to learn more about and just hold space for people who are on their own or, their family wants something a little bit special while people are passing over, or do you know what I mean?
of course I do.
So it's just all gorgeous, and my heart has never felt so. It's like it wakes up in the morning and goes, "Eh," like, "Oh."
It's amazing because I mean my biomedical head wouldn't accept any of this, right? But the person who guided me through it says, the last time you did this, Joe, how was it for you? I said, I've never done it. He said, well, do yourself a favor. Don't knock it till you've tried it, right? And that's what I do now. I'll have a go at anything. But I got taken on a journey and I went back through the sands of time, right, into ancient Egypt as well,
Yeah.
into the pyramid thing. And I thought, part of me, my ego was saying, oh, this is bollocks, this and all. But it wasn't. I was like thinking, well, it's very interesting, you know. And so I got into under the pyramid type thing. There was, and I looked down at my feet and they had golden sandals on and these brown legs and all that. Right. And there
Wow.
was a little, this is the funny thing. There was a little, in fact, it's big, it's come back with me now, the picture of it all. Right. And Anubis was there, you know, Anubis the dog, right?
Yeah.
He was there as a guardian, right? And then there was this little child playing there, like a golden type child. And then there was this beautiful queen person as well, and all that, you know. And I remember thinking, this is beautiful, this. I think I must be making, you know, am I making it up or is it real and all that
Yeah.
sort of business.
Yeah.
Anyway, on another occasion, I got taken back through Egypt, past Egypt, into like Assyria, right? And all those places around there. And then the next thing that happened is this is really, really weird. A great big like carousel thing started turning in the sky like that. And even though it was past, it was coming from the future, right? And so it was almost like I was receiving information from the future, from aliens, you know. This is just an ordinary night going to sleep or going
Yeah.
backwards, you
Yeah.
know.
It sounds like
But
that.
but then I got I got invited then to go to the local spiritualist church, and I thought, oh, I can't go there because it's against my religion. And I got told, well, you haven't got a religion anymore, Joe, because you're starting from scratch. So I ended up at the local spiritualist church. I think I told you about this. The medium, who looked like a normal person, because I was expecting it to have like a witch's hat on and all that. He gave this thing about death, and it was just the beginning death, and it was actually it was almost like a promotion, right? Death, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And but then she said, I'd like to go into the mediumship now because they're all ganging up and they want to get through and spread some messages. And she said, I'd like to come to the new man at the back of the church. Well, me arse went like that, you know what I mean? Right. I was terrified. The sweat was pissing off me because I didn't have a clue. And she said, I don't know. She said, but she said, I think this is your nan or your grandma. And she's holding up now a bottle of Guinness. And she's saying, son, it looks like you've taken the right steps now. And
Oh,
then this medium said to me, this is what's going to happen to you. You'll be invited to become a healer. You can choose whether you're going to go down the healing route or the psychic route and all this. And it all happened and it all falls into place. So what I do in the morning is I sort of wake up with a clean sheet and I open my heart up and get a feeling that I've connected. And then I just say, please try and show me what you want me to do today. And Nikki, for 34 years, that's what I've done basically. And I'm not going to stop now because I know what I was going to say there. The Assyria thing, right? That was always linked in my mind to the Tigris and the Euphrates rivers and Mesopotamia. Now, I didn't know much about them, but you know how even from being a child, certain names stick
yeah,
in your head. Well,
yeah.
they have a resonance with me, and I've just found out now, right, that that's apparently where the 10th Stargate is on the planet. And it's a very powerful, and I don't
Yeah.
fall into. I think to myself, I'll keep an eye on this, and I'll just look at it from a distance, but I get a big woo, 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 woo. So I don't know what's going on there.
I accidentally watched something the other day and they were saying, is it Iran or somewhere there's a Stargate?
Iran and Iraq, yeah, it's on this. Well, apparently, because I've just gone on before, because I got a push, and I got on. That's exactly where this Stargate is, and all this stuff that's going on. It's got nothing to do with oil and all that sort of stuff. It's about this Stargate, and when I get that, I think, oh, here we go, right, here we go. But then I settle down, I open my heart up and saying, what is it that you're trying to show me? And
Yeah.
I get, just keep an eye on things here, Joe. Keep an eye on things. Listen, love, I have to go now.
Thank you.
So, no, thank you. Thanks very much. And that was great. I'm not quite sure. I have to play these back to see what we've been going on about. But will you come back in a few months and we can carry on and you
I'd
can.
love to. Yeah. I'll be
Now,
more
if people
dynamic then.
if people want to get in touch with you, what's the best way? Will you put your link into the
Yeah. Or just
comments?
Facebook. If you just want to send me a message through Messenger on Facebook, yeah, that's absolutely brilliant.
Brilliant. And it feels great. And I love you like mad, love. And we hardly
Oh,
know one another,
same,
but
Kev.
yeah, it's one of them things, isn't it, really?
Yeah, proper
So
soul connection.
yeah, so thanks very much, and I'll see you next time.
Yeah, see you soon. Thank you so much.
Thanks everybody for watching. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.